The Falcons' defense has been holding its breath for weeks, but now, there's hope. A star may finally return and his comeback could change everything. Falcons fans, buckle up, because this might be the turning point Atlanta's been waiting for. For weeks, the Atlanta Falcons have been playing with a hole in their heart, the absence of their defensive leader, A.J. Terrell. Every snap without him felt like a reminder of what this team was missing. But now, finally, there's light breaking through the clouds in Atlanta. At his most recent press conference, head coach Raheem Morris gave the fans exactly what they've been waiting for: hope. He didn't promise anything outright, but his tone said enough. When he spoke about A.J. Terrell's recovery, there was something different in his voice, a quiet confidence. And if you followed Morris long enough, you know, when he sounds like that, good news is coming. Terrell, who went down in Week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings with that frustrating hamstring injury, has been sidelined for 2 straight games. For a defense that relies on his shutdown presence, it's been like fighting with one arm tied behind their back. Opposing quarterbacks have noticed too, testing the Falcons' secondary in ways they wouldn't dare if Terrell were out there. But this week, everything could change. Raheem Morris confirmed that Terrell is set to return to practice, and while there's no official guarantee he'll suit up for Monday night's matchup against Josh Allen and the Bills, the signs are all pointing in the right direction. After weeks of being stuck on the sidelines in street clothes, Terrell is finally strapping on his helmet again. That might sound like a small step, but make no mistake, for Atlanta, it's huge. A player like A.J. Terrell doesn't just defend, he defines a defense. His presence reshapes the field, gives confidence to the safeties, and strikes hesitation into quarterbacks who thought they saw an opening. With him back, this Falcons secondary becomes something entirely different, faster, tougher, and more dangerous. Falcons fans know what Terrell brings: leadership, intelligence, and that quiet fire that makes him one of the best corners in football. He's the kind of player who doesn't need to talk trash, his game speaks for him. And now, after weeks of waiting, the Falcons might finally get their enforcer back. So yes, it's just practice for now. But practice means movement. It means progress. And in a season where every win could decide the NFC South, A.J. Terrell's return could be the spark that reignites Atlanta's entire defense. Falcons fans, how confident are you in A.J. Terrell's return changing this defense? Rate your confidence from 1 to 10 in the comments, and let's see who still believes the Dirty Birds can rise again. When the Atlanta Falcons defense is at full strength, it's like watching a storm roll in. Thunder up front. Lightning in the secondary. And when those two elements connect, quarterbacks start making desperate, off-balance throws they wish they could take back. That's been the identity of this defense all season long: fast, physical, and suffocating. And even without their star corner A.J. Terrell, the secondary has refused to break. In fact, they've been elite. The Falcons' defense currently sits number 1 in the NFL in yards allowed per game and top 5 in opponent passer rating. Read that again. Number 1. That's not luck, that's discipline, communication, and relentless hustle. Now imagine adding A.J. Terrell back into that mix. You've got Jesse Bates, the heartbeat of the secondary, a ballhawk who seems to know the quarterback's next move before he even makes it. You've got Billy Bowman Jr., who's been stepping up with confidence and fire far beyond his years. And then there's Xavier Watts, the unexpected breakout. A name most fans barely knew a few months ago, now playing like one of the biggest steals in the entire league. He's been everywhere, closing gaps, forcing turnovers, setting the tone. Sure, Mike Hughes might not be perfect, but in a secondary this talented, even the weakest link plays stronger when surrounded by dogs. And once Terrell straps that helmet back on, this group transforms into something terrifying, a unit capable of shutting down anyone. Because when Atlanta's coverage locks in, their pass rush eats. And when the pass rush eats, turnovers start flying. That's how this team wins: together, violent, and relentless. But it's not all good news. There's still concern at wide receiver. Kader El-Hodge, who missed Week 4 against the Commanders with a groin injury, hasn't made much of an impact this season. Even before he got hurt, his numbers were flat, almost invisible. For a guy with his speed and experience, the Falcons need more. Still, this team has been defined by resilience. Every time someone goes down, another player steps up. Every time they get counted out, they respond with fire. So when you think about this Falcons secondary, think of it like a wall. A wall that bends, adapts, shifts, but never breaks. And when A.J. Terrell returns, that wall becomes a fortress. Falcons fans, do you believe this secondary is the best in football when A.J. Terrell returns? Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you think this defense can shut down the Bills on Monday night. Something's wrong in Atlanta's wide receiver room, and it's not just about injuries. It's about silence. It's about players who were supposed to make noise, disappearing when this team needs them most. Let's start with KhaDarel Hodge. It's hard to even recognize him right now. Once viewed as a dependable depth piece, a spark plug who could give you effort, toughness, and the occasional big play, he's become invisible. 0 catches. 0 production. For a player with that kind of athletic build, that's not just disappointing, it's alarming. You can talk about the groin injury all you want, and sure, injuries slow players down. But when a guy doesn't even have a single reception through multiple games? That's not just an injury problem, that's a confidence problem. At this point, Hodge feels like a body on the field rather than a weapon in the offense. And if that doesn't change soon, you can bet the Falcons front office will start thinking about trade packages that move him elsewhere. Because this offense needs juice. It needs explosiveness. Right now, Drake London is your clear no. One target, he's been reliable, physical, and fearless in traffic. After that, it gets messy. Darnell Mooney should have been that speed threat, the guy who stretches the field and opens space underneath for Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. But ever since the hamstring injury against the Commanders, and before that, the shoulder setback, he hasn't looked like himself. His routes don't have that burst. His cuts look careful. His confidence looks shaken. And here's where it gets confusing. Just last week, Ian Rappaport reported that despite Mooney's hamstring issue, the expectation was that he wouldn't miss any games. That sounded encouraging, until you see him on the field. He's playing, sure, but he's not right. And for a speed receiver like Mooney, 10% less explosiveness is the difference between a touchdown and a tackle for loss. So what does that mean for Atlanta? It means there's a growing urgency. If the Falcons want to keep pace with top-tier offenses, teams that can score at will, they can't rely on 1 or 2 healthy weapons. They need depth. They need production from every receiver in that rotation. Because right now, Bijan Robinson, your running back, has been your second most reliable receiving option. And while that says a lot about Bijan's talent, it says even more about how thin this wide receiver group has become. The Falcons' defense can only carry them so far. At some point, the offense has to match that fire. And that starts with getting their wideouts healthy and hungry again. Falcons fans, be honest. Do you think Atlanta needs to trade for a wide receiver before it's too late? Drop your thoughts below. Who would you target to give this offense a spark? Something about Raheem Morris' tone just didn't sit right. When he stood at that podium and said, "We'll have more information later this week," Falcons fans everywhere felt that familiar pit in their stomach. The uncertainty. The mystery. The frustration of not knowing whether this team will take the field at full strength or limping into one of the biggest matchups of the season. Because here's the truth, you need every single weapon you've got if you're going to take down the Buffalo Bills. No excuses. No "we'll see later this week." You need Darnell Mooney. You need KhaDarel Hodge. You need Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Allgeier, every ounce of offensive firepower Atlanta has. And when it comes to Darnell Mooney, it's becoming crunch time. Fans know what he can be when he's right, that explosive, shifty, fearless receiver who can catch a 5-yard slant and turn it into a 40-yard gain. But this year? It's been flat. Hesitant. Almost unrecognizable. The bye week was supposed to be the reset. The recovery. The spark that reignites Mooney's confidence and rhythm. And now, with Buffalo looming, this has to be the bounce-back game. No more quiet stat lines. No more 2-catch performances. This offense needs him to step into that WR2 role and own it. Even a solid game, 4 or 5 catches, 60 yards, maybe a touchdown, could be enough to remind everyone why the Falcons believed in him in the first place. Because the truth is, Mooney isn't optional for this offense. He's essential. When he's on, defenses can't double Drake London or stack the box against Bijan. The entire scheme opens up. The rhythm returns. When he's off, Atlanta's offense becomes predictable, and predictability is a death sentence against a team like Buffalo. But if we're talking about the player the Falcons cannot live without, the one whose return changes everything, it's A.J. Terrell. When number 24 steps back on that field, the defense breathes differently. There's confidence, swagger, certainty. He's not just a cornerback, he's the soul of that secondary. So yeah, Darnell Mooney needs to find his footing. Kaderil Hodge needs to remind people why he's here. But A.J. Terrell? He's the piece that makes this defense whole again. Atlanta's heading into a storm in Buffalo, and if they're going to come out of it standing tall, they'll need their best warriors suited up and ready to fight. If you believe A.J. Terrell's return is the key to taking down Buffalo, type "Rise Up AJ" in the comments. If you're betting on Mooney's redemption, drop a Mooney mode below. Because this week, it's all on the line for Atlanta.